My girlfriend shouted in front of everyone, "You'd never be a good husband. I'm not marrying you." I didn't say a word. I just looked at her and walked away. Later that night, I suddenly received a message from her friend. "Do you have any idea what happened after you left?" I replied, "What?" I, 32 male, work as a forensic accountant. In plain English, that means companies hire me when the numbers don't add up and they suspect someone is cooking the books. I spend my days tracking hidden assets, exposing fraud, and generally finding the things people are desperate to keep buried. You'd think doing this for a living would make me hyper-aware of red flags in my personal life, right? You'd think I'd spot a bad investment from a mile away. But that's the thing about love, or whatever you want to call the fog I was in. It makes you stupid. It makes you ignore the data right in front of your face until the audit hits you like a freight train. I've been with my girlfriend, 29F, for 4 years. Let's just call her GF. When we met, she was fun, spontaneous, and seemed to have this zest for life that I, a guy who spends his life in spreadsheets, really admired. But over the years, spontaneous morphed into irresponsible, and zest for life turned into a demand for a lifestyle she couldn't afford. I own my house, bought it before we met, and I make a good living. She worked part-time as a lifestyle consultant, which is basically code for buying clothes to post on social media and telling other people how to decorate their apartments, while I paid the mortgage, the utilities, the grocery bills, and her credit card minimums. The dynamic was clear, even if I didn't want to admit it out loud. I was the wallet, she was the prize. Her family reinforced this every single day. Her mother, 50s F, is the kind of woman who believes she's royalty in exile. They always lived in these massive rented houses to keep up appearances, dodging creditors and hopping from one lease to another before the eviction notices stuck. To them, I wasn't a partner to their daughter, I was a resource to be mined. The boiling point came last month, at GF's sister's engagement party. It was a backyard affair at her parents' latest rental, a sprawling place they definitely couldn't afford. I had already paid for the catering because her father forgot to transfer the funds and claimed the bank had frozen his account due to a security error. I knew it was nonsense, but I paid it to keep the peace. I was standing by the bar, nursing a drink and watching GF hold court with her college friends. She was glowing, but there was an edge to her that night. She'd been drinking champagne like it was water, and every time she looked at me, her eyes narrowed slightly, like I was a stain on the carpet. She pulled me aside near the DJ booth, her grip on my biceps surprisingly painful. Her breath smelled like expensive brute and entitlement. She leaned in close, her voice a harsh whisper. "My mother says you're going to propose tonight." It wasn't a question, it was a directive. I blinked, genuinely confused. "What? We haven't even talked about a ring in 6 months, and this is your sister's night. I'm not hijacking her engagement party to propose. That's tacky." "You're embarrassing me," she hissed, her voice rising. People started to glance over. "Everyone is waiting. My friends are waiting. Mom told everyone you were going to do it." "I can't help what your mother made up," I said, keeping my voice low and calm. "I'm not doing it, GF. Not here, not like this. Lower your voice." That was it. That was the moment the fuse ran out. She stepped back, her face twisting into something ugly. She didn't care about the party, the guests, or her sister. She wanted her moment, and she wanted to punish me for denying it. She turned around so she was facing the main crowd, her parents, her sister, the new fiancé, her friends, and she shouted, "You are so selfish." The music didn't stop, but the conversation died instantly. 50 heads turned our way. "You think because you pay for everything you own me?" she screamed. She was performing now, playing to the back row. "You'd never be a good husband. I'm not marrying you. You're emotionally stunted and cheap. You're just a walking bank account with zero personality." The silence was absolute. It was heavy and suffocating. I looked over at her mother in the corner. She wasn't horrified. She was smirking. It was a look of pure satisfaction, like she was thinking, finally, she put him in his place. GF stood there, chest heaving, waiting. She wanted me to beg. She wanted me to apologize, to cause a scene, to plead for her forgiveness so she could look like the benevolent queen taking back the peasant.
I didn't say a word. I didn't get angry. I didn't yell back. I just looked at her. I looked at the dress I paid for, the earrings I bought her for her birthday, and the family that had been bleeding me dry for years. And I felt nothing. The emotional connection just snapped. It was like closing a file on a bad audit. I turned around, walked out the back gate, got in my car, and drove home. I sat in my living room in the dark for a long time, just listening to the silence of my own house. It felt peaceful. I blocked her number, I blocked her parents, I blocked her sister. I was done. Around 11:30 p.m., my phone buzzed. It was a text from one of GF's friends. Let's call her Jen. Jen was the only one in that group that actually worked at 9 to 5 and seemed to have a moral compass. Jen, do you have any idea what happened after you left? Me. What? Jen, check your security cams if you have audio, or just watch this. I can't let you not know. She sent a video file. I hesitated a second, then pressed play. The footage was shaky, obviously taken on a phone, but the audio was clear. It was about 10 minutes after I had left the party. GF was standing on a garden table, holding a fresh bottle of wine. She wasn't crying, she wasn't devastated, she was laughing. "He's gone," she announced to a cheering circle of her family and friends. "Finally. God, he's such a bore. But don't worry, Mom, he's not going anywhere for real. He's too obsessed with me. I'm going to make him buy me the G-Wagon just to let me move back in. He always pays. He's pathetic." Then a guy walked into the frame. It was her cousin. I use quotes because I never really understood the relation. Second cousin, third cousin, twice removed. He was always around, borrowing money from her dad, driving flashy cars that didn't belong to him. He walked right up to the table, wrapped his hands around her waist, and pulled her down for a kiss. Not a family kiss, a full-on, open-mouth, intimate kiss. "To the ATM," the cousin shouted, raising his glass. "To the ATM," GF laughed, clinking her glass against his. I stared at the screen until the backlight timed out. The betrayal hurt, sure, but the disrespect, that burned. They thought I was a spineless mark. They thought I was just some idiot they could milk indefinitely. They were celebrating their victory over my bank account. I didn't sleep that night. I went to work, not my office, but my home setup. I pulled up everything: bank records, credit card statements, phone logs. I started digging into the business loans I had given her father. I looked at the supplemental credit card I gave her for emergencies. I found a hotel charge in the city 3 weeks ago, a charge for a room with a king bed ordered on a night she told me she was staying at her parents' house to help.
With the wedding prep. The next morning, the entitlement arrived on my doorstep. I heard a car door slam around 9 a.m. I checked the monitor. It was her. She walked up to the front door and punched in the code. Nothing happened. I had changed it at 2 a.m. She tried again, aggressively jabbing the buttons. Then she tried the handle. Locked. She started banging on the door with her fist. "Open up! Stop being a child!" she yelled. I opened the inner door, but kept the security storm door locked. I stood there, coffee in hand, looking at her through the glass. She looked hungover and irritated, wearing the same dress from the night before. "Let me in," she demanded. "I need to shower and change." "You don't live here anymore," I said calmly. "Excuse me?" She let out a sharp, incredulous laugh. "This is my house, too. We have common law rights or whatever. My mom talked to a lawyer friend. You can't just lock me out. If you don't let me in right now, I'm calling the cops and telling them you hit me." There it was, the dirty trick, the nuclear option used by people who are used to getting their way. She wasn't just claiming she lived there. She was threatening to destroy my life, my career, and my reputation with a false domestic violence allegation just to force me to open a door. "Go ahead," I said. "Call them." She blinked, clearly confused. Usually I'd fold to keep the peace. "I'm doing it. I'll tell them you pushed me down the stairs. You know they'll believe me." "Okay," I said. "Do it." I closed the inner door and went back to the kitchen. I watched the monitor. She actually dialed. She put on a performance, crying into the phone, hunching her shoulders, looking terrified. It was Oscar-worthy. 10 minutes later, a patrol car rolled up. 2 officers walked up the driveway. I walked out the front door, hands visible, calm. "Sir,
one of the officers said, stepping forward. He looked serious. "This young lady claims you assaulted her, pushed her down the stairs, and locked her out of her primary residence." "Officer, I haven't touched her, and she doesn't live here. She's a guest who overstayed." "Excuse me? I have clothes inside. My mail comes here," she shrieked from behind the officer. She was sobbing now, pointing a trembling finger at me. "He's crazy. He's abusive." "Officer," I said, keeping my voice level, "I am aware of tenancy laws. However, before we discuss residency, I need to show you something. I have a security camera right there on the porch." I pointed to the camera. GF's face went pale. The tears stopped instantly. "I have the footage from 10 minutes ago where she explicitly threatened to file a false report if I didn't let her in. Would you like to see it? The audio is very clear." I pulled out my phone and played the clip. The officer leaned in. "If you don't let me in, I'm calling the cops and telling them you hit me." The officer stood straight up. His face hardened. He turned to GF. She looked like a deer in headlights. "That's edited," she yelled, her voice cracking. "He's good with computers. He faked it." "And," I continued, regarding her residency, "she maintains an apartment in the city. Her driver's license lists her parents' address. She stays here occasionally, but she is not a tenant. Here is a text from last week where she said, 'I'm going back to my place to pack for the trip.' She is not on the deed, not on the lease, and pays no bills." The officer looked at her. "Ma'am, filing a false police report is a crime. Based on this video, you threatened to frame this man. I suggest you leave this property immediately. If you return, you will be trespassing." "You can't do this," she screamed at me, dropping the act entirely. "My dad knows people. You're going to pay for this. You owe me." "Go," the officer said, pointing to her car. She got in her car, slammed the door, and peeled out of the driveway. I knew it wasn't over. People like her and families like hers don't just walk away. They double down. I spent the next 3 days turning my house into a fortress. I hired a lawyer who specializes in high-conflict separation. We drafted a cease and desist. I contacted every credit card company and removed her as an authorized user. The fallout was immediate. Her mother called me 40 times in one day. I didn't answer. Her father sent emails threatening to sue me for emotional distress and breach of verbal contract regarding a loan I had promised to forgive, a loan for a business venture that never existed. Then, 3 weeks later, I got served. She wasn't suing for tenancy. She was suing for palimony. In some states, if you live together and act like a married couple, one partner can sue for support. She was claiming we had a verbal agreement to share all assets. She claimed she had invested her own money into the renovations of my house, a complete lie, and that she had sacrificed her career to support mine, also a lie. She worked 15 hours a week. She wanted $400,000. She wanted half the equity in my house and a cash settlement. My lawyer looked at the filing and sighed. "It will cost you $50K to fight this in court, or you can settle for $20K just to make her go away. It's nuisance money." That was the moral dilemma. The logical, easy path was to write the check. Just give the bully her lunch money so she leaves the playground. But then I remembered the video. To the ATM. If I paid her, I was proving them right. I was proving that I was just a wallet. "No," I told my lawyer. "We fight, and we countersue." "On what grounds? She didn't sign any contract." "Fraud and conversion. Theft." I spent the next month doing what I do best. I went through 4 years of finances with a fine-tooth comb. I treated my own relationship like a crime scene. I found transfers she made from my personal account to her business account, which she claimed were for household expenses. I traced those funds. They didn't go to Target or Whole Foods. They went directly to a DraftKings account registered to her cousin. But the smoking gun was the checkbook. I found a series of checks written from my business account, an account she absolutely did not have access to. They were made out to cash or to her mother. The signatures looked like mine, but they were slightly off. The pressure points were wrong. The loop on the Y was too wide. I pulled the bank images. I found 5 checks totaling $25,000. Then I went through her old texts. I have a habit of backing up my phone data, paranoid occupation hazard. I found a text exchange between her and her mother 2 years ago. GF. He left the checkbook on the counter. Do you think he'll notice if one is missing? Mom. Just practice the signature first. Make sure it's for less than $5,000 so the bank doesn't flag it. Bingo. The court date for mediation arrived 6 months later. We sat in a conference room. She was there with her mother and a lawyer who looked like he hadn't slept in a week. GF looked smug. She was dressed up, looking mournful and victimized. She thought I was there to capitulate. My client has suffered significant lifestyle degradation, her lawyer began, reading from a script. She supported OP for 4 years, managed his home, and now she is left with nothing. We are willing to settle for $150,000 and the Audi Q5. My lawyer sat there, stone-faced. He didn't argue. He just slid a heavy black binder across the polished table. What is this? Her lawyer asked, annoyed. That, I said, speaking directly to her, is a record of the
$25,000 you stole from my business account by forging my signature? That is a felony, grand larceny, and wire fraud, since you transferred some of it electronically. GF went pale. Her mother stiffened, her eyes darting around the room. That's ridiculous, her mother spat. She was authorized. They were partners. I have the bank affidavits right here, I said, opening my copy of the binder. I also have the text messages between you and your daughter discussing how to practice my signature to avoid detection. Page 45. Read it. Her lawyer opened the binder. He flipped to page 45. He read the text. He looked at the checks. He looked at the forensic handwriting analysis I had commissioned. He closed the binder slowly and looked at his client. Is this true? He whispered to her. He said I could, she stammered. He's lying. And, I continued, relentless, I have the footage of your daughter threatening a false police report to extort residency rights. I didn't press charges then, because I just wanted peace. But if you pursue this frivolous claim from my house, I will file criminal charges for the forgery, the theft, and the false reporting immediately following this meeting. I have the police report drafted. I just need to sign it. The silence in the room was heavy. The air conditioning hummed, but nobody moved. The smugness was gone. The ATM was closed, and the security system was armed. Furthermore, my lawyer added, twisting the knife, we are countersuing for the return of the $25,000 plus legal fees plus the $10,000 loan given to her father, which we have a signed promissory note for. Her lawyer leaned over and whispered frantically to them. I saw GF's face crumble. She looked at me, eyes welling up with those same tears she used on the porch. OP, please, you know I love you. It was just, I was mad. My mom told me to do it. She said you owed us. She threw her own mother under the bus in a heartbeat. Her mother gasped, I did no such thing. I don't care, I said coldly. You have 24 hours to drop the suit with prejudice, meaning you can never file it again, and sign a confession of judgment for the stolen money. You will pay me back every cent, on a payment plan if you have to, or I walk out of here and go straight to the district attorney. They dropped the suit before we left the building. But I wasn't done. The satisfying revenge needed to be complete. I knew her lifestyle business relied entirely on her reputation in our local social circle. She posed as a wealthy influencer, a girl who came from money and married money. I took the public court records, because civil suits and dismissals are public record, and I posted a simple update on my own social media. I didn't call her names. I didn't rant. I didn't use any slurs. I just posted a photo of the dismissal document and the agreement where she admitted to misappropriation of funds to avoid criminal prosecution. Caption: grateful to have this chapter closed. Sometimes the people closest to you are the ones stealing from you. Truth matters. The fallout was nuclear. The cousin dumped her the second he realized the money train had derailed and there was legal heat involved.
Her friends, who were only around for the free drinks and the parties at my house, vanished when they realized she was a liability and a fraud. Her mother tried to spin it on Facebook, claiming I was abusive and controlling, but I simply replied to her comment with the video of GF threatening to frame me for domestic violence. She deleted her account an hour later. 6 months have passed. I was getting coffee downtown last week and I saw her. She was working at a retail counter at the mall, a real job, on her feet, folding clothes. She looked tired. She wasn't wearing the designer stuff I used to buy her. She saw me, froze, and looked down at the floor, pretending to be busy. I didn't say a word. I didn't gloat. I just got my coffee and walked away. I walked away with my house, my dignity, and a much sharper eye for wolves in sheep's clothing. Generosity without boundaries is just asking to be robbed, and sometimes the loudest person in the room is just announcing their own destruction. If you enjoyed seeing an entitled ex get served a reality check instead of a settlement check, hit that subscribe button. It costs less than my ex's legal fees.